tonight. We're halfway through our week of special coverage on the cost of living crisis, and we're live from Falkirk. We're finding out how local businesses are coping with spiralling costs.
I can't take on all the costs on my own, especially like the shop rent and everything, the electricity bill, that's going up as well. So that does fall on your customers.
Also making the headlines, Scottish athletes facing racism. There's an apology for cricketers left out because of the colour of their skin, but allegations it isn't the only sport affected. Walkouts on the railways, striking workers bring services to a standstill. And the local chippy bucking the trend as the industry is battered by rising prices. I'm John Mackay in Glasgow.
And I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Falkirk. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening, live from Falkirk. We're here on the High Street with the iconic steeple just behind us as we find out how local businesses are coping with inflation at a 40-year high and rising costs. Our town centres are already battling for survival with online shopping, big retail parks and the hangover from the pandemic. And now another fresh challenge, riding out the cost of living crisis and not passing on any extra costs to consumers. But we're trying to find out how this is impacting on you. So we're taking a road journey right across the Central Belt. We started in Inverclyde, then moved to Glasgow, and tonight we're here in Falkirk. We'll move eastwards throughout the week. So tonight we're here in the heart of Scotland. Here we have the Kelpies, Helix Park and the famous Falkirk Wheel. Grangemouth Oil Refinery is also a big employer here. We'll be live there very shortly. Well, we've been hearing a lot about how the cost of living crisis is affecting us daily, and there are all sorts of reasons for that, from Brexit to the knock-on effect of COVID. But what about the small businesses which cater for our significant milestone moments in our lives, like the birth of a baby or the death of a loved one? Well, our reporter Kay Nicholson has been out and about in nearby Grangemouth to find out more.
The cakes I make are always for a big life event, and it's really nice to be part of that as well. I love seeing pictures of like first birthdays, second birthdays.
Emma started her cake business while studying at university. After taking baby steps to build it up, she now does this full time and opened this shop in April. But with everything from butter to fuel going up in price, it's a balancing act.
Supermarkets can put them up for like £6-7, whereas we're charging a lot more because of how long it takes us. Like, I need to pay my own wage. I was really reluctant to put up my prices, but I did have to put them up because it's just not doable on your own. I want this to be my job forever. I'm really thankful for all the customers that I've got, but I think if it continues to go on how it has gone on, then there might be a big impact on people forking out the money on a luxury item like a cake.
Flowers that are required, for one for yourself?
Yeah, one for me, one for my bridesmaid.
Now, have you set yourself a budget?
I'm not wanting to go like massive because it's not a massive wedding.
With pent-up demand for weddings after 2 years of disruption, Lynn's order book is busy. She's had to adapt to cope with fluctuating costs and changing customer trends.
With the energy bills going up, it's obviously costing a lot more for the growers in their greenhouses to produce the flowers, so that has an impact on us as a business. Certain types of flowers I won't buy certain weeks if I feel it's too expensive for the customer, unless the customer obviously requires that. Customers have definitely changed the way they're shopping. Not as many buying the wrist corsages and things like that now, because obviously like going to a wedding as a guest is quite expensive. There's like a 30% increase in our click and collect service. They're now wanting more value for their money because flowers are seen as more of a luxury.
That even extends to funerals. Lynn's noticed that many are scaling back the amount of floral tributes they order. Funeral directors have had a tough few years supporting bereaved families during lockdown restrictions. And this family-run firm isn't immune to the financial pressure so many of us are facing.
Our two main coffin suppliers have put surcharges onto the coffins which we purchase from them, and they're hopeful that they can remove these surcharges in the future, but that's now been like that since COVID came along. Soft goods, the handles, the cords, the nameplates, the stationery, all of these things are going up in cost as well. Sometimes you have to manage people's expectations and maybe go about things slightly differently to try and achieve the funeral which they would want to arrange for their loved one, but equally bearing in mind that there is a cost implication. If we want to continue to train our staff and we want to continue to invest in our business, then ultimately we need to ensure that we have a steady income.
So all sorts of costs on everyone's minds there. And Kay, you're live at Grangemouth now.
Yes, and as you heard there, one of the biggest struggles that are facing all of those businesses, Emma, Lynn and Paul's businesses, is the cost of fuel itself. For example, Emma, she delivers wedding cakes and she says she's really getting hit in the pocket when those venues are further afield. For Lynn, she's still delivering flowers for free in the Grangemouth area, but that's also affecting her bills and paying more and more petrol for that. And for Paul, that's maybe the most stark example. He obviously has a fleet of vehicles, including hearses, which are of course crucial to the running of his business and for supporting bereaved families at such a difficult time. But he says filling up even one of those vehicles is now costing at least £100, so not easy at all.
Certainly fuel has been one of the main talking points on our road trip, but why are we having to spend so much at the pumps, Kay?
Yeah, so you'll see Grangemouth Refinery here in the background behind me. That is where crude oil is processed, and it's crude oil itself, the price of that is fluctuating so much. That is what is causing those high prices at the petrol and diesel pumps. Now, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, of course, in the last couple of months, that has also added to the problem because many Western countries are trying to avoid going to Russia to buy oil. So the wholesale price actually of diesel and petrol, that went up last month. It's now gone slightly down. And although retailers are saying that there's a reason for this, that it's not quite trickled down to the pumps yet, that reduction in price is because they buy that fuel in advance. So we're hoping that in the next couple of months, things might be slightly easier for us at the petrol pumps.
All right, Kay, thanks very much. Well, as Kay was just saying there, fuel and energy prices really hammering businesses. Well, I've moved away from the high street to come down to a street called the Cow Wynd. It's a little small street with lots of little independent stores within it, and it has this coffee shop. So let's have a chat with the owner here to get a sense of how she's feeling things. Hi, Louise.
Hello.
Thanks very much for joining us live on the STV News at 6. You run this coffee shop in the Cow Wynd. How is it running a business during a cost of living crisis?
Well, it was difficult getting through the pandemic as it was for all small businesses. And when we came out of lockdown, people were genuinely supporting the local and independent businesses, which we all appreciate. We really do appreciate that. And we understand that, people still want to come out for a treat and meet their friends and be sociable. And sometimes people come in here, we are the only person that they might speak to during the day. So with the utility bills going up and the cost of food going up, it has been a worry. And we get that it's a worry for everybody. So we've been trying not to put our prices up, just to enable people to still start coming out. But unfortunately, with utilities have nearly doubled in the last month, so the last 6 months.
Just briefly, Louise, how do you feel about the future?
A little bit worried. If the energy crisis carries on the way it is, I think it's not going to be the pandemic that finishes, is it? It may well be the utility companies.
All right, Louise. Well, look, thanks very much for sharing your thoughts with us. I'll let you get on with your work. Thank you very much. Well, that is the view of one local business here in Falkirk. Real concern there, you could tell. Well, begs the question, what has been done to help? Well, I'm delighted to say that our Westminster correspondent, Catherine Sampson, has escaped London for a few days to join us here on the Cost of Living series. Catherine, what can governments do?
Yeah, look, when it comes to the UK government earlier this year, they unveiled a number of measures aimed at helping with bills. It means most households are at least £400 better off because of that. Also, of course, there was that 5p fuel duty cut too. The Scottish Government increased the Scottish child payment by £20 a week. They introduced a £150 payment towards council tax for properties in Band A to D. But clearly, more pressure is coming as we approach the winter. The expectation is, that energy cap, the price cap rises in October, possibly £3,000 or more. So people will be expecting more.
And the cost of living crisis also dominating the Conservative leadership race.
Yeah, key story today, Rishi Sunak saying that if he wins, if he becomes Prime Minister, he will temporarily scrap VAT on energy bills. Now, that is something that Labour's been calling for some time. He resisted it as Chancellor, so obviously his opponent, Liz Truss, saying this is a major U-turn. Rishi Sunak's team, though, saying, look, this was always going to be kept under review. Clearly, cost of living crisis key to the race number 10.
Indeed. All right, Catherine, thanks very much. Great to have you on. Well, don't forget, if you go onto our website, there's much more on the cost of living series there. Do check it out. I'll be back later in the programme, but now it's over to John for the rest of the day's news and sport.
Thanks, Kellyanne. More allegations of racism and a lack of equality in a number of sports have flooded the email inbox of a lawyer who helped reveal institutional racism in Scottish cricket. Amar Anwar says he has been shocked by the apparent scale of the problem. It comes as whistleblowers Majid Haq and Kazim Sheikh received a personal apology from Cricket Scotland at today's match. Ollie Dickinson reports.
The return of one of the best cricketing sides in the world to the Grange should be the focus of attention for Scottish fans. Instead, 48 hours on from a damning report that found Cricket Scotland is institutionally racist, fans are still processing what's happened.
I didn't believe it at the time, but I mean, it's shocking. At least that's the board's going anyway, so...
I think it's all about what do you do next. So it's one thing to actually surface it. The next thing is actually to make a positive change.
Yeah, I can't imagine how debilitating that would be when you deserve to be there. And all they want to do is play cricket. And it doesn't work out that way,
There are so many players, as you can see in a lot of clubs. There are Asians and overseas players, but nobody gets a chance. Don't know why.
Whilst much of the focus over the last 48 hours has been on Cricket Scotland, the man who helped shine a light on racism within the game says it's not just cricket that needs to get its house in order.
We have been flooded with individuals contacting my office to complain about their sports, about what's happening, about the lack of diversity in the boards, the lack of diversity in the coaches, the lack of diversity in terms of selection. It is an all-white institutions that are operating and it needs to change.
On Monday, there was little in the way of an apology to those affected. Today, though, one of the whistleblowers, Kazim Sheikh, revealed that current head coach Shane Berger has been in touch.
And I think it speaks volumes for Shane. And it was obviously I'm not going to divulge, but it was along the lines of he's heard that I'm coming along with Majid, and he looks forward to welcoming us. And I hope people like Shane can lead the way. He's a leader, obviously. Sadly, on Monday, the leaders didn't really move this forward. So I hope other leaders will take the opportunity to do so.
Sport Scotland said on Monday they were not opposed to widening the scope of their racism investigation. That now seems almost inevitable. Ollie Dickinson, STV News at the Grange in Edinburgh.
The Chief Constable of Police Scotland has thrown his support behind the force in a dispute over pay. The Scottish Police Federation rejected a deal last month. It comes as more than 300 new recruits were sworn in at its headquarters in Tullyallen. Vanessa Kennedy reports.
Taking their oath of office marks the start of a new career in the police for these recruits. Steve joined after wanting to see more diversity in the force.
Without representation, I feel there might be many people who will be put off at the thought of joining. Having that representation there gives someone a visual aid to see that someone is doing it and it is possible.
There are more than 300 new recruits starting their career here today, but it's a sector that's seen a number of challenges. Police Scotland was accused of racism by the family of Sheku Bayo at the start of the ongoing public inquiry into his death in police custody. Officers rejected a pay offer earlier this month, but the Chief Constable's now supporting an improved settlement.
We know we're going through a cost of living crisis at the moment. We know that inflation is at a level that we've never seen before. So it's important that police officers and police staff get a fair and affordable pay increase. I am lobbying very, very hard for police officers and police staff to get a legitimate pay increase.
I think a very significant change of tone by the Chief Constable. Up till now, he's maintained, I think, an understandable and respectable organisational position on this. This clearly looks like the breaking of ranks. The fact that what was once one of the most attractive and desirable careers in the public service in Scotland seems to have dropped off a cliff tells its own story.
It's undoubtedly a challenging time for Police Scotland, but these new recruits are full of hope for the future. Vanessa Kennedy, STV News, Tullyallen.
The RMT union is warning proposed changes to rail workers' conditions will put people's lives at risk. Passengers faced another day of disruption as around 40,000 rail staff took part in a strike across the UK in a dispute over pay and job security. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
This is what greeted the few commuters at Central Station this morning. A show of solidarity from other unions with the RMT, silenced by the police and escorted back outside. It marked the start of a day of disruption for passengers as Network Rail staff, including signallers, walked out across the UK.
I would normally get a 8:05 train from Cavan. If I had to go to Motherwell, then wait until about 9:25.
I just got the bus in, yeah. And buses were busy, obviously, because of the strike, but other than that, it was okay.
I do appreciate what they're doing, and I do appreciate they need more money, but so do a lot of businesses.
This would normally be rush hour here at Central Station, but currently there's only a handful of passengers waiting in the concourse. The strike has once again brought the vast majority of the rail network to a standstill. Only a limited service is operating on just 5 routes, all of them here in the Central Belt.
We'll never be defeated!
We're all suffering through the cost of living crisis, and we're getting told our members can't get a rise because it'll cause inflation. Well, the profiteering is already causing the inflation. Network Rail are talking about cutting the maintenance regime in half. That'll import real risk into the rail infrastructure. And I'll tell you now, they will put trains down embankments and kill people. That is the reality.
Network Rail wants the union membership to be given the chance to give their verdict on the latest offer.
We are keen to keep talking to the RMT. We are keen to find a resolution to this dispute. We are keen to avoid any more strike dates in the future. We have made an offer to the RMT of an 8% pay rise over 2 years. We would like them to consider that offer, to put that offer to their members and to work with us to modernise the railway, make it more efficient and make a larger pay rise more affordable.
A later start of services means disruption is expected to spill into tomorrow. A further 2 strikes are also planned in August. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
In other stories across Scotland, council workers have voted for industrial action after rejecting a 2% pay offer. The Unite union is finalising strike dates, but action by cleansing staff is expected to begin in mid-August. Action impacting on schools is expected to begin in early September. A cruise ship docked in Edinburgh has welcomed its first group of Ukrainian refugees. The Victoria will house up to 1,700 displaced people. The Scottish Government say the cruise ship is a temporary measure until permanent homes can be found. A truck driver has been jailed for 10 years after driving a lorry into his girlfriend's house, causing £475,000 worth of damage. 34-year-old Derek Wellington drove his lorry into the living room of the East Kilbride property after his partner refused to meet him last September. The SNP leader of North Lanarkshire Council has resigned following allegations of inappropriate behaviour. Jordan Linden became leader of the local authority in May this year and says he never approached any interaction with ill intent, but accepts he has caused a sense of discomfort. Mr Linden says he will continue in his role as a councillor. Now Ronnie is standing by with the sport.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, good evening. It is the greatest honour of our careers, the words of Kirsty Gilmore and Mickey Yule after they were chosen as the official flag bearers for Team Scotland at the Commonwealth Games. It's the first time we've had 2 athletes leading out the team at an opening ceremony as Birmingham gets set to welcome the world.
It's really been sprung on me, but if I think back to being a 17-year-old in Delhi and 20 in Glasgow and back to Gold Coast, there's always been that little leader to the team, and I never expected it would be me, but it's a really privileged position, so I hope to hold a good flag for the younger ones in the team.
Yule powered his way to bronze in Tokyo last year. But despite the medal, he says leading his fellow Scots out at the opening ceremony will be his greatest honour.
So it's amazing. It's a highlight of my career. It's something that I've seen other athletes do before me and wondered just how you even get there and what an honour it must be for them. So for me and Kirsty to do this, it's a highlight of everything I've done in sport, really. I had a small inkling, as you sometimes do, but I didn't think I would be selected. I didn't think I would be put forward for it. So when I got the news and the emails coming from Eleanor and John Doig, I thought, man, that's something. And it was hard to actually keep it quiet. So I never even told my mum till today.
To football, and Rangers loanee James Sands admits he would be lucky to land a permanent deal at Ibrox as he looks to ramp up his minutes next season. The American joined in January on an 18-month loan deal from New York City and made just 9 appearances for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's side last year.
I would love it. It's a big club, and anybody would be lucky to play here. Always a little bit is out of your hands. I have to be performing and playing well to earn that opportunity. But as I said, it's not in my control, and I'm just going to focus on playing and doing my best.
Finally to golf, and Gemma Dryborough said it would be a dream come true if she could win on home soil as she gets set for the Scottish Open at Dundonald Links. She'll be up against a strong field, including world number 1 Jin Young Ko and reigning Open champion Anna Nordqvist. Fraser Nicol spent the day at the course in Ayrshire.
Back in familiar surroundings and hoping to create history, Gemma Dryborough was getting a feel for the greens at Dundonald Links today as she looks for the biggest win of her career.
It would be just amazing. It would be a thing of dreams, I think, to win here, or even a top 10 would be amazing. But also my family's here as well, coming to watch, so that's special as well. I don't get to see them very often. But yeah, just playing links golf again, it's kind of the stuff you love. Yeah, it's like purest form of golf, I think.
As well as Dryborough, Scotland is like a second home to reigning Open champion Anna Nordqvist. The Swede's husband and caddy are both Scots.
It's nice to get to spend the next couple of weeks here. We've been very lucky with the weather, obviously, the last 2 days. But yeah, it's just something with the atmosphere here. I feel like Scotland is a lot similar to Sweden in a sense. I feel like I have a lot of people here that loves and supports me, so it's always nice feeling to come back.
And as if the field couldn't get any stronger, world number 1 Jin Young Ko's in town and is here to win.
Usually I play in the America, like in Korea, but we don't have like this golf course often in Korea, so it's a little weird to play, but I have great memories in Scotland, so I can't wait.
The tournament will run until Sunday, then all roads will lead to Muirfield next week for the Women's Open. Fraser Nicol, STV News, Dundonald.
All the best to Gemma. It's sure to be a cracking weekend of golf up at Dundonald. Final bit of news in the last few minutes. Celtic defender Uzi Urhoghide has joined Belgian club Oostende on loan until the end of the season. That's all your sport from us tonight. We're back same time tomorrow. You can get all the very latest on our website.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Let's get the weather now from Philip.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
So things are staying pretty dry as we head through the rest of this evening and overnight. We'll see plenty of clear skies with only a little bit of cloud bubbling up through the course of the early hours of tomorrow morning. So a comfortable night to come, not as chilly as last night when we got down to lows of 2 or 3 degrees Celsius, and that's thanks to the cloud, lows of around 8 or 9 degrees. Now looking ahead to tomorrow, there is the threat of some showers just spreading in from the north of England, affecting parts of Ayrshire and Lanarkshire. Elsewhere through the central belt, plenty of sunny spells between the breaks in the cloud with highs of around 19 or 20 degrees Celsius. Looking ahead to Friday now, and there'll be lots of sunshine to start the day. Later on in the afternoon though, we see that cloud bubbling up once again and the sunshine becoming confined mostly to the coasts. By night, some thicker cloud does start to roll in across the far west. That's thanks to these fronts that are moving in from the Atlantic. Now those fronts will bring with it some quite strong winds and also a band of rain. That rain will move eastwards overnight Friday into Saturday, but it will have cleared the country by dawn, leaving behind a day of a mixture of sunshine and scattered showers. Those showers most frequent across western areas, the best of any drier or brighter conditions in the east, with temperatures feeling warm in any brighter conditions, highs of 20 or 21 degrees. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels. Sponsor STV Weather.
And that's it from the studio. I'll say goodnight and hand you back to Kellyanne, who, surprise, surprise, has managed to find her way into the pub.
It's for work reasons only, trust me, John. All right, I've now moved along Falkirk and I'm now at Tolbooth Street, which the plaque says is the shortest street in Great Britain. We thought it was appropriate to bring you here on a short street when we're all, let's face it, short of cash during this crisis. And this tiny street is also home to the Tolbooth Tavern. And I'm delighted to say that the pub landlady, Jane, joins us now. Jane, how is it running a business like a pub during a crisis like this?
It's been hard after COVID, and the cost of living, obviously with putting up the price of the gas, there's surcharges in the gas and the bins, things like that. However, we're still here, the doors are still open, but we're
still pulling those pints.
We are still pulling the pints, but we're not going to be millionaires anytime soon.
Oh, just keep pulling those pints, pulling those pints.
Absolutely.
All right, Jane, thanks very much for joining us. Well, from one of the oldest pubs here in Falkirk, we're now going to hear more about one of the oldest running chippies in nearby Bo'ness. Well, Indigo Stafford has been finding out more.
It's one of Scotland's oldest chippies. Corvies have been frying up fish for over 125 years.
My partner was born in Bo'ness and he's been coming here since he was knee-high.
What I like about it is it's old-fashioned and reliable.
Well, a wee bit dangerous to live next to the best chippy in the area,
The family firm was opened up by an Italian couple who emigrated from New York, and it's now in its 5th generation.
My great-grandfather came over in the 1890s, so he already had a shop operating then. The next generation was my grandmother, and then the next generation was me. My wife, Marilina's here now.
After running the business for 45 years, Bertie proudly handed Corvies over to his daughter, and it turns out she's a chip off the old block. As running costs rise, Mary-Elena says customers are happy to pay a little extra for a taste of tradition. Has the menu changed much over the years?
It hasn't really changed at all. I don't like making any big changes because if it's not broken, don't fix it.
So what's the most popular item on the menu then?
Fish, definitely. A fish supper. We also do a smoked fish supper, which everyone in Bo'ness calls a brown fish. It's really popular. I don't think you get it many places that aren't Bo'ness.
Well, there's an idea for your dinner tonight. Indigo Stafford, STV News, Bo'ness.
Well, I don't know about brune fish, but I'm already sorted with some chips for my dinner tonight, so how about that? Anyway, that is it from us. We're in Edinburgh tomorrow as part of our road trip, but from all of us here on location in Falkirk and in our newsrooms, good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.